Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this morning session on ReDiscover Germany PhD in Focus. I am Padma Chandramouli. I am from the DAAD office in Chennai. I would like to invite our Consul General, German Consulate Chennai, Mrs. Kuhler, and the Visa Head, Mrs. Wegener, to please come on stage. Now I request Dr. Arijit Samal, IMSC Chennai, to hand over the bouquet to Mrs. Kuhler on behalf of all of us.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
I also request the panelists for the panel discussion today to please come on stage. Professor Milind Brahme, Professor Shanti Bhattacharya, Dr. Prakash Saivasan, and Dr. Saptarshi Sasmal. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome the Consul General Mrs. Kuhler and the Visa Head Mrs. Wegener for today's program. Thank you so much, Mrs. Kuhler, for accepting our invitation, especially when we are doing a physical session nearly after 2.5 years of a break, where everything had been online and virtual things. And thanks to all the panelists for accepting on a Saturday morning to the kind invitation of DAAD and being here with us to share your experiences. I would also like to place on record our heartful thanks to IMSC Chennai, the Director Professor Ravindran, and our Research Ambassador Dr. Arijit Samal for hosting us today and for the excellent arrangements and the coordination they have been offering us to make today's program a reality. So I'll just give you a, yes please. So thank you Arijit once again. I'll just give you an overview of the what DAAD, about the organization DAAD, and then we'll also have an overview of the program today. As you see on the screen, after my welcome address, we will have the inaugural address by Mrs. Kuhler, and then Dr. Arijit Samal will give a special address. This would be followed by a presentation on PhD in Germany and DAAD funding by my colleague Mrs. Kavita. After the presentation, we will have the panel discussion where we will have the panelists answer questions which I as a moderator will be asking them on behalf of you, which I'm sure will be useful and interesting to all of you. After the panel discussion, we will have a session by Mrs. Wegener explaining to you the procedures on the guest scientist or PhD visa. So this is the flow of the program for today. So let me start with an introduction on the DAAD. DAAD, which is actually the abbreviation of Deutsche Akademische Austauschdienst, meaning in English the German Academic Exchange Service, is the world's largest funding organization for international exchange of students and research scholars. DAAD is a registered association and its members are German institutions of higher education and student bodies. Its head office is in Bonn in Germany, and we have a network of regional offices and information centers in 66 countries in the world. In India, the regional office of DAAD is in New Delhi, which was established in 1960. It promotes academic exchange between Germany and India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka in this region. We provide information to students, grant scholarship to students, invite scientists from the other countries to Germany as well as from Germany to these 5 countries, and DAAD supports bilateral research projects. DAAD network in the region includes information points in Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, Dhaka, and Colombo. And myself, Padmavati, and my colleague Mrs. Kavita are from the Chennai DAAD office, where we are situated in T Nagar on GN Chetty Road inside the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. So after this, in case you would like to meet us at our office, you are most welcome. Just fix an appointment over our website and then drop in at our office. DAAD also has a network of DAAD lecturers, language assistants at select universities. We have our young ambassadors, a network of our research ambassadors, numerous alumni clubs with over 5,000 former scholarship holders. DAAD's activities go beyond just awarding grants and scholarships. Focus areas of the DAAD for this region, which is South Asia, include scholarships for young academicians and scientists, promotion of university cooperations, promotion of German language and literature, alumni networking, promotion of study and research in Germany. So today's program is an example of promoting study and research, especially research in Germany. So with the program overview, you know what is to be expected through this today. So I thank all the students and research scholars once again for their participation. And now I request Mrs. Kuehler to come and deliver her inaugural address. Yes.
Thank you very much, Padma, for this wonderful welcome. I must say I'm overwhelmed by the participation today on a Saturday morning. It's not self-understanding that so many people come here because they are interested in doing their PhD in Germany. Thank you very much for coming here. And I'm also overwhelmed by the presence of women here, both on the panel and in the room, because I think that's a very good sign that so many women are here, are active in the scientific field, and yeah, welcome, especially to you. Thank you for the invitation. I think it's an important event, both because it's in presence again after such a long time. It's also an important event for myself because I'm new here to Chennai. I arrived on the 13th of July, and so I'm still learning about Chennai, about Tamil Nadu, about India, and I'm still curious to know about the place where I am. Myself, I'm a career diplomat. I joined the German Foreign Service in 1988, and I had assignments then in the Protocol Division in Prague, at the time still Czechoslovakia. I was there during the split. Then I went to Santiago de Chile, Bonn, that time still the capital of Germany, Brussels, the capital of Europe, and for the last 19 years I was in Berlin. My last assignment was Special Ambassador for Relations with Jewish Organizations and Holocaust Remembrance. I'm a DAAD scholar myself, so I know a little bit the situation you might be in. Anecdotes and stories are the language of the brain, so I'd like to bring you some anecdote about my life. I studied in 1982 and 1983 law in Geneva in Switzerland, and before I got the scholarship, I had to appear in front of a panel like this one. Well, we were at equal footing, but still it was a panel, and I had asked myself, what are they going probably to ask me? Is it going to be some questions on law studies, some tricky problems from the jurisdictional area, or what is it going to be? So in order to prepare for the interview, I was reading, because Geneva is French speaking, so I was reading French newspapers to brush up my French. And then I thought, well, they might perhaps know if I know something about Switzerland and about Swiss history. And bingo, there was one professor on the panel who asked really questions about Swiss history in the 13th century. And so I was lucky because I had prepared that a little bit, and I got through and I got the scholarship. So when you apply for a scholarship, maybe it would be interesting for you also to know a little bit about Germany. From the promotion of the students who went to Geneva in 1982-1983, we have still contact among ourselves. We're not part of an alumni network, but we still have contact among ourselves. One became a lawyer, no, not a lawyer, a judge at the Constitutional Court, so that's the most important court in Germany. One is a very successful lawyer. Others, quite many, maybe 10 or so, joined the Foreign Service, like I did myself. So we have all different careers, but we are still together and feeling part of the big DAAD family. my first assignment as a diplomat was in Prague in 1990, so that was just after the fall of the wall, after the fall of the Iron Curtain, and Germany had not been present, West Germany had not been present in Czechoslovakia with activities in the field of science and language and so on, and it all started in 1990, and also the DAAD had its first office and lecturers coming from Germany, mainly for German language, because there was a huge appetite for German language at the time in Czechoslovakia. And so we all started this DAAD business in Czechoslovakia, and also with these young lecturers at the time, I'm still in contact, and our children grew up together. So it's like a big family. So finished the anecdotes. Now comes the serious part. India and Germany have a long history of cooperation in research, of technology partnership and higher education. The Indo-German Science and Technology Partnership has massively grown in the last couple of years. In November 2019, Germany and India agreed to establish a joint research program in artificial intelligence, for instance. They also decided on the extension of the Indo-German partnership in higher education for another 4 years, with contributions of 35 lakhs of euros each. No, this must be crore. It's not lakhs. The exchange of students and young researchers has considerably grown over the past years. In the academic year 2021 to 2022, so in the actual year, almost 35,000 Indian students studied in Germany. That is a remarkable increase of 18% compared to the year before. All the more remarkable because it happened during the pandemic. Today, Indian students constitute the second largest group of students in Germany after the Chinese, and we see a decrease in Chinese students coming to Germany and a very considerable increase in Indian students. From the little experience I have the impression that many students want to go to Aachen, which is a very famous place for many decades now here in India, but I would like to appeal to you also to consider other universities. I just come back from Coimbatore, where I accompanied the Minister for Economic Affairs, Digital Society and Science of Thuringia. Thuringia is one of the 16 states of Germany, right in the heart of Germany, heart of Europe even. And he had in his delegation professors from the University of Ilmenau, for instance. I'm pretty sure you have never heard of Ilmenau, but Ilmenau is a fantastic place, especially for technical and natural sciences studies, and also PhDs, and it has a very big group also of Indian students and PhDs there. I was told that Ilmenau organizes the largest Diwali festival in Germany every year. So please consider also other places, not only Aachen, but I'm sure you already do. Let me thank now the DAAD, especially Padmavati Chandramuli and Kavita Somusundaram, who are regional officers for Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and Puducherry, for their tireless efforts and invaluable contribution to this exchange between academic exchange between Germany and India. And I'd like to invite you to be part of this endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kulu, for this lovely speech. Now I request Dr. Samal to come and give his special address, and also he has a message from his director, which also he will be able to share.
Good morning. So I'd like to start by mentioning at the outset that our director, Professor V. Ravindran, would have very much liked to be here and have welcomed the delegation, but you would, while he is a bit unhappy that he could be here, but you may be happy to know that he happens to be on a long visit to Germany for academic purpose currently. So yesterday night he has sent a audio message for you, for all the participants here, so which I would like to start by playing that. So that's a message here. Just play it.
I would like to extend a warm welcome to Ms. Michaela Kuschler, Consul General, Consulate of the Federal Republic of Germany in Chennai, its officer, TAD officials, panelists and all participants of this event ReDiscover Germany, to our Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Chennai. As our institute is celebrating its completion of 60 years, we call it IMSC 60, I'm happy to note that there is a rich culture of academic and scientific cooperation between our institute members and German academics. We therefore are very happy that TAD has chosen to organize this event in IMSC this year. In particular, several of our current and past faculty members have done their postdoctoral training in Germany and continue to have several collaborations with German institutions. Also, many of our PhD students, including several of my own, choose Germany as their postdoctoral destination after completing their PhD in IMSc. As a testament to our strong cooperation with Germany, while it is unfortunate that I am unable to participate physically today in this event, you would be glad to know that I am currently on an extended academic visit to Germany. I am currently visiting Daisy, Hamburg in Germany for an academic purpose. With this message, I welcome you all again to IMSc and look forward to many more years of strong collaboration between German institutions and IMSc. Thank you.
So essentially I am representing my director, and on behalf of my director, Professor V. Ravindran, I would like to again extend a warm welcome to all of you, especially Ms. Kushler, Ms. Wagner, and all the panelists who have kindly agreed to be here today. So you may slightly turn on the dice. I have a short presentation. I just want to highlight a few points, mainly stressing about there are many students here from other places. Yeah, please. Brief. This year happens to be a very proud moment for our institute. Our institute was founded on 3rd January 1962, and this year we are actually celebrating the 60 glorious years of our institute. It's been a very important institute in the field of especially physics and mathematics, and we are proud. There are 4 pictures here which sort of shows the evolution of the place. Okay, we have really grown over the ages. So for those of you in the audience who don't happen to be from this institute and would like to place IMSc in the research or academic landscape of the country, so here are the salient points I would like to highlight. First of all, we have been a premier research institute which was established in 1962 by Professor Aladi Ramakrishnan, and we do theoretical basic research in physical and mathematical sciences. So as part of this IMSc 60 celebrations, many of you received this badge memorabilia that we have created, and there's a quote by our founder which is mentioned there. So if you have not received, you're welcome to have one at the end of this event. So our present director is Professor V. Ravindran, whose message I've played out. So we essentially have 4 research areas or group in this institute. We don't have actually formal departments. We are very informal. All the faculty are under the director directly. So we have a big group of physics, the mathematics, the theoretical computer science, and since 2013 a new group on computational biology, of which I am a member. We have currently about 50 faculty members. Maximum we can have 60 faculty members. In principle, we are a research institute. We only train PhD students and postdocs. We are very small, that's why we have about 200 PhD students plus postdocs. plus 50 faculty members and a few, administrative staff. So we are much smaller in that sense. You can place us like a Max Planck in the German landscape if you wish. So we only engage in training PhD and postdocs. So we are funded very generously by the Department of Atomic Energy, Government of India. So we are in the umbrella of the autonomous institutions of the DAE. So as you know, there are many institutions like IMSC, Tata Institute. So we are in the same family in that sense. And as you know from those who are from Germany, we can't grant degrees because there's a research institute. So we have many of the institutions under the Department of Atomic Energy come together in a university known as the Homi Bhabha National Institute, and that's basically the degree granting university for us. So all these where we are, and as you know, we are of course a proud member of the Education and IT Hub of Chennai. So we are located clearly in the OMR, surrounded by all the academic institutions and also the multinational companies, which allows us a rich interaction with both industry and academia. That's all basically we want to mention, and as I would again like to stress that we have just completed 60 years and the 75 years of the independence of the country. So for the Indo-German cooperation, I would like to just stress on the following points which were also mentioned in the address of the director. So if you look at the faculty members who have joined, especially since I have joined 8 years back, several of them actually have had extended postdoctoral stays in Germany. So that's one point I want to highlight. So several of these faculty members like me also have ongoing research collaboration with German researchers. That's the second point to mention. Also faculty members currently and in the past have undertaken a lot of joint projects with German colleagues. These have been funded by Max Planck Society, DAD, IGSTC and many other funding agencies. Also, since we train only really PhDs and postdocs, especially many of our students who finish their PhD, for them Germany is a very important preferred destination. So as you heard from our director, he had 2 students who graduated this year, both went for postdocs actually to Germany. They have just started. And recently we have had a lot of project research fellows and project assistants. So these are people who have finished their masters and get some research training, paid research training with us, and then they may choose to do a PhD in India or abroad. And many of these people are choosing to go to Germany for their PhD. So in short, the institute has a very rich tradition of cooperation with German academia and research institutions. And after I have said all this, you may be wondering why I promote Germany, Indo-German cooperation. So one slide about my association with Germany, which is I think very important. So I finished my PhD in 2008. I spent 5 years doing a PhD in physics in Delhi University, and at that moment I had several offers to go abroad, but I'm very grateful that I chose to move to a place called Leipzig. Thuringia, Jena was promoted. I would like to promote Leipzig in Saxony. So I want to make a few points about why the Max Planck, because that's my association. I think the place is both stimulating in a research wise and the incredible academic freedom that you obtain, because when you are in a transition from PhD to postdoc, you are trying to go free, and academic freedom is perhaps the most important element in trying to be an independent researcher, and I received very serious academic freedom out there, and I owe a lot for that. So actually I was there for a couple of years in Germany, and then I was actually funded by both Max Planck Society and the CNRS, which is the French Academic Research, Scientific Research. And so I had a joint position between CNRS and Max Planck Society. So I actually spent about 4 years in Germany there. And afterwards I moved to US for a year, to Seattle. I was also working in Berkeley, and then a year back to Europe. I wanted to come back to Europe in the ICTP, the International Center for Theoretical Physics, and since 2014 I've been here. So what I want to emphasize is that, okay, all that is tourism, you may think. So since I joined here, I think the cooperation with Germany has increased manyfold, at least personally. So since 2017, in particular, the Max Planck Society is funding a partner group, which I am heading here, with the Max Planck Institute in Leipzig. So there are some numbers I want to emphasize. So the highlights, which I'll just end with, is that personally I've had a long association with the MPI for Mathematics and the Sciences. they have been supporting my research. So it's important to stress that not only the public money from India supports my research, but also German public money through Max Planck Society is actually some funding my research. And how it has all helped. So I can only put one statistic. I don't like that, but just for the audience. So since I joined Institute, I counted yesterday night that there are 41 publications I have written, reasonable number, out of which actually 14 are with German co-authors. So almost 30% of my research, at least since joining IMSC, is actually with German colleagues. So I have a strong cooperation, and I really see this as a symbiotic relation, and India and Germany as equal partners in moving forward. With that, I will welcome the DAD officials to take over and continue with the program. Thank you for all coming.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible to all of you. And before starting with today's presentation about PhD in Germany, let's move on to the lighter part for today, just because we had much more serious discussions about what is DAAD and what is IMSC and everything. So before starting with how to do a PhD in Germany, on the lighter note. So can anybody answer like what are French fries commonly known as in Germany? What is it called? Yeah, please? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, good. And yeah, and the next one, if somebody has already, apart from the Germans here, somebody who has already, if you had been to Germany or learned more about Germany, can you just tell in which German city is this museum is located? It's called the Museum Island, Museum Insel. Can you say where is this place located? Yeah, it's in Berlin. Yeah. Yeah, and I hope most of us watch movies. So can you say which German composer has composed the music for all these movies? And he has won the most prestigious Oscar awards recently. Yeah, for which movie? The recent movie? It's Dune, yeah, correct. Yes, and one last question, like how many countries a German passport holder can visit without a visa? It's a random answer. It's about 188 countries. Yeah. Thank you for your answers, and let's move on to the presentation. So I'm not going to talk more about DAAD because Mrs. Padmavati has already mentioned what DAAD is and what we do exactly. So let's get into the serious part of the presentation now. Okay. So why do we have to select Germany? So Germany has a very close link between the theory and practice. So after you complete your masters in Germany, like you can do an internship, and also if you are doing your PhD in an applied sciences college, it's going to be an internship, and if it is going to be a master's that you do in university or a technical university, it is more closely related to your research work there. So it's always you have a close link between your theory and practice, and of course you have wide range of courses offered in English medium. But when it comes to PhD, you don't need to worry about the language. You can absolutely do your PhD in English. And of course, Germany is considered to be one of the safest countries for the students so far. Yeah, and on coming to the Germany landscapes, and you have a lot of freedom to do your research work, and you have a lot of universities. There are more than 400 institutions in Germany, and range of courses, more than 12,000 courses are offered. And one of the oldest university, it's about started in Heidelberg University, which is started in 1386. So you have lot of universities which were started so many years ago. So you have a wonderful landscape, and it is very rich in the research work. And when it comes to the international students in Germany, which was already mentioned by our Consul General as well as Mrs. Padmavati, like we have about 3.5 million students in Germany, and out of it 16% of the students are international students. And Germany is one of the popular destinations for in the EU always, and of course like Indians and Chinese are the topmost students in Germany on the numbers basically. Like, so India takes the topmost position. Like, we are about 34,134 students till last year. So this number has been consistently increasing in spite of pandemic situation. We have a consistent increase in the number of students who are in Germany. And coming to the Nobel laureates, the researchers, and there are more than 100 Nobel laureates in Germany. The recent ones that you can see, you can find a lot of Nobel laureates who have come from different field of subject study fields also, be it chemistry or physics or be it literature or medicine. In all the fields they are established here. Yeah. Well, and coming to the application schedule. So when talking about the application schedule, most universities in Germany, when it comes to PhD, some might have an application schedule like master's and bachelor's program. They have 2 semesters, one is summer semester and the other one is winter semester. So the winter semester starts in the month of September or October, for which you will have to prepare 9 months prior to the program start. So if it is a next year, that is 2023 September intake that you are applying for, you will have to start your preparation in this year, that is in November 2022. You will be shortlisting the course by November. By January, universities will be opening the application portals and you will be applying to the universities during that time. And by April, May, you will be receiving the admission letters, and then you apply for the funding, and then apply for the housing and for the visa applications. And then once you receive the visa, then you can start traveling to Germany by September or October to do your research. And similarly for the summer intake, so you gather the information by May and you submit the applications by July, and you process with your visa applications and finding an accommodation in November and in January, and by April you will be leaving to start with your course in Germany. So usually it is a 9 months process. So before applying to any university, you have to prepare 9 months prior to the program start, and then you start applying to the universities directly. Okay, what would be the basic requirements for an application? German universities usually ask for IELTS or TOEFL for a 100% English taught program. So these are the widely accepted scores, and these scores are dependent on the universities at times. Some universities might be insisting on 8 also, and some might be insisting on even if it is 6, it's perfect with them. So it depends on the university. So once you shortlist the program from the universities list, you will have to check for the eligibility criteria, whatever they are asking for, and then fulfill the requirements and then apply to the universities. And coming to the German language, so we talked about the English language. What about the German language, since you're going to Germany? So is it going to be important? As far as concerned with PhD, when you're planning for your research work in Germany, you don't need to know the language for your research perspective. You'll be doing your research only in English. But when it comes to communicating to the people for your day-to-day activities, it's always good to know the language. It's always good to know a little bit. At least we suggest you to learn till A2 or B1 level, where you will be comfortable in communicating to people, so your day-to-day activities get much more easier. Yeah. And what about the certificate? So once you shortlist the programs and everything, and while you're applying to any university, the most important thing is you will have to send the attested documents to the university. So attestation can be done either by your home institution or the notary public, or it can be taken from the consulate. So based on the requirement that is given by the university, you can take the attestation and then submit the attested copies to the universities. And most important thing is, some people might have a confusion like, how do I apply to the university? Do I apply directly, or is there any agency do I approach, and do they help us, or does DAAD has a role in the application process or the visa process? So in fact, DAAD has no role in the application process nor the visa process. We do provide only with the information. Every single thing will be done by the students, and it's between you and the university. So you don't need to consult a third person for your application process. So it's very simple. You just check with the requirement criteria, fulfill the requirements, then apply to the universities directly. So you don't need a third person involvement in that part. So if there is anything, any consultancies which you might think that it would be helpful, check in the university websites if they have suggested somebody, some names or so, then you can follow that way. Otherwise, like, you can apply to the universities directly. Yeah. What about the living expenditure? So once you get an admission letter from the university, then you will have to look into the how do you fund your what would be the amount required for your living expenses in Germany. So now it is going to be 11,208 euros for 1 year in Germany, which is approximately 924 euros for a month. So once you receive the admission letter, you will have to open a student blocked account in one of the suggested banks, which is Kotak Bank, which is an Indian bank, and if a Deutsche Bank, you can open it online, and there are few other banks mentioned in the embassy website. You can just check it out to open the blocked account information. Yeah, and this is a rough estimation of how much money you would be needing to fulfill your activities in Germany. It's a monthly expenditure amount. So most of your money will be going in your food and accommodation, and the rest of the things you can take care. And yeah. And coming to the information about DAAD, you can check the funding-guide.de, which gives more information about the funding opportunities provided in Germany. And here are the important links that you can see. The study in Germany, the Hochschul Compass, the funding guide, and the fourth link, international courses, which provides the information about PhD studies, a structured program that you can find it over here, offered by the universities as well as the graduate schools. And UniAssist is one of the service providers for the application procedures. Yeah. So what are the eligibility criteria to do a PhD in Germany? So to basically do a PhD in Germany, you need to have a master's. If you are already in your final semester, you can apply for that, and or if you had already completed, you can apply for a PhD in Germany. And if you have publications, most welcome, you can have it, but it is not a mandatory requirement to apply for a PhD. If you don't have it, also you can apply. It is not going to be a minus point or something like that. So if you don't have it, you don't need to worry about it. You can still apply for a PhD in Germany. So where can you do the research? So researches are usually conducted in the universities, the research institutions, and in industries. So as far as concerned with the students here who are in India, you can apply for a research in university or in a research institution. So some people who are already working for an industry, particularly for a German organization or any German industries there in Germany, then you can apply for the industrial PhD if you are working there already. So coming to the different types of PhD. So one is the individual PhD, that is a traditional method of approaching a professor and then applying for a PhD position under them. The other one is structured PhD. So in an individual PhD, you will be approaching a professor on your own by looking into our databases. You will be checking for the professor's information, professor's details, and then you will be mailing them individually and then checking with them whether you will be eligible to, the professor would be accepting you as a PhD student under him or her to work. As far as concerned with the structured one, the positions will be already announced. There will be structured programs which is already announced, and you will be identifying that from the database, and you will be applying to the particular program, like usually applying for a master's program or any bachelor program. You will be applying to that, and then you will be getting an admission for that. So if it is an individual PhD, you will be supervised by a single supervisor, and you have to be very disciplined for that. And if it is a structured PhD, you will be supervised by a group of supervisors. You will have a team to be working with them usually. Yeah. And how do you approach? So first you will have to, if it is an individual PhD, you will have to identify the research topic initially and contact a potential supervisor first by providing the information like what is your interest, what motivated you to approach them with your research interest, your SOP and everything. And then once, if the professor is interested in your profile and your research interest, and then you will be getting an acceptance letter from the professor, and then once you get that, then you apply for the visa. Whereas in the structured PhD, you look for the positions which is already announced in the structured programs and then apply to the particular program. If there is any particular deadline mentioned in that, then you will be applying, sticking on to the deadlines. But in most of the structured programs, it is usually round about the year. So there won't be any specific deadlines, opening date or closing dates as such. For most of the programs, it is going to be round about the year, but for some specific programs, you might find a particular deadline which will be informed. It could be semester specific also. Some universities do offer something similar to masters, like it's going to be summer intake and winter intake. In such cases, if it is going to be offered in two different intakes, you will have different deadlines for application. So you will have to check in the particular universities or graduate schools course web pages, like when are they opening and closing the application deadlines. If not so, then it could be round about the year. You can apply to that particular program at any point of time in the year. So once you apply to that university, then you get the admission letter once you are selected, and then you will be applying for the visa for further procedures. Yeah. And apart from doing a PhD in a technical university or a university, we talked about doing research in the non-university research institutions also. Even in Professor Arijit's presentation, we looked into four important research institutions, like the most four important ones are Max Planck, Helmholtz and Leibniz and Fraunhofer. These are the four major research institutions in Germany where they provide the research programs over there, but your PhD will be provided by the university where they are collaborated with. So you won't be receiving the PhD graduation from the research institution. It will be usually provided by the university where that particular university is collaborated with. So you look into the Max Planck Society. Here their emphasis is more on health sciences and life sciences. So that's what their research work is mostly into, and it's one among the oldest research institutions. Yeah. And Leibniz Association. Leibniz Association is also one of the prestigious research institutions where their emphasis is more on social sciences and humanities. That apart from the health sciences, also they concentrate more into humanities and health sciences. And coming to Helmholtz Association, so here they are into different fields of research basically. They are into energy, communication, health and too many other research areas. Yeah, and the Fraunhofer Society, again they conduct the research on the behalf of the industries as well as public administration and the service industries. And one of the very recent inventions where we are totally dependent on for the past 3 years, that is the MP3 format, which was invented in the Fraunhofer Society. Yeah. And coming to the degree part, like only the university, as I told you, only the universities or the technical universities can provide you with a degree, wherein as mentioned, research institution can't provide you with a degree. The degree will be provided with where that research institution has the collaboration with. Yeah. And what would be the application requirements for a PhD. So usually you need a research proposal, that is the most important thing that is required for an application, and of course your mark sheets and the transcripts of your master's degree, and the most important thing is your the letter of motivation, the statement of purpose, like why do you wanted to do that particular program, why that university, why that professor, why that program, and everything that you know better. So you have to be writing an individualized, it should be individualized, you have to create one SOP, and then a letter of motivation from the professor where you are currently studying or you had studied. A professor who knows you very well should provide a letter of recommendation. And of course, if the university is insisting on English language proficiency, you should provide either an IELTS or TOEFL certificate if it is asked by the university. Otherwise, some universities might say you don't need to provide an IELTS or TOEFL. At times it is sufficient to show that you had completed your master's degree in English medium. So some very few universities accept that way also. If they accept it that way, then you can go ahead proceeding showing that that your medium of instruction in your master's was in English. Yeah. So once you receive an admission letter, an acceptance letter from a German institution or from the professor, if it is going to be a individual approach, it's a traditional method of application, then you will have to look in for the funding. So as far as concerned with PhD studies in Germany, it is 100% free in Germany. There is no tuition fees involved at all to do a PhD in Germany. It is funded by the studies are funded by the university. So you will have to identify the funding for yourself, for your mobilization in Germany. How do you survive in Germany? So in most of the cases, once you receive the admission letter from the university or the research institution or from the professor, you can check with them whether if they have any funding to be provided for your living expenditure in Germany. So if they provide you with the funding, then you can go ahead with that. Otherwise, then you apply for the other funding organizations like DAAD if necessary. So how do you find a PhD guide now? So how do you identify or find out a PhD position or whether it is available or not? So what are the sources that you could look into? So you can generally look into the journals or the publications that are available, and check with the professors in your home institution. They could have contacts with the German professors already, or your seniors who had already done their research work or who is doing the research in Germany, and try attending to conferences relevant to your subject. And of course there are websites that you can check for the positions and apply to that. So here are some important websites, web links that we had provided here: the PhD in Germany, research in Germany, gerrit.org, and DAAD international programs, and Euraxis and academics.de. The last two links are mainly, they do post on the PhD positions available across Germany and the European countries, and the fourth one, it informs more about the structured programs offered by the technical universities and the graduate schools, and the other three provide more information about the PhD positions across, where you can, if it is even going to be a individualized search on approaching a professor, you can identify the program from here and then apply based on identify your professor from the list and then approach them directly. So here is a screenshot of research in Germany, which provides the information about bachelor's, PhD, and research as well as for postdoc also. You can just check on this link. And the next one is Gerrit. Gerrit gives more information about PhD, the research fields. And then PhD in Germany, again it's a 100% PhD database where you can find the PhD positions. And here this is the one, DAAD international programs, gives more information about the PhD positions offered by the graduate schools. Yeah. And here are a couple of examples like we have given over here. This is for the structured program. This is not for the traditional way. Traditional method, you will be approaching the professor directly. So this is for the structured program that is offered by Göttingen University. It's on behavior and cognition, and the degree awarded will be, the graduation degree awarded will be PhD or a doctorate in natural sciences. So here you see, like, it's going to be the requirement criteria say that you can do your PhD 100% in English. There is no tuition fees involved, and this is actually semester specific. They offer both summer and winter intake, and it has specific deadlines. If it is going to be winter intake, the deadline is going to be 31st of July, and if it is going to be the summer intake, it is 31st of Jan. And the language requirements, as I mentioned already, like, they are either asking for IELTS or TOEFL. So either one of that you will have to fulfill. And it has 6 semesters, and there is no tuition fees, but you will have to pay the semester contribution, that is about 400 euros per semester. So you shouldn't be confusing the semester contribution with the tuition fee. Semester contribution is usually an administrative cost that you will be paying to the university. So that is for the students' benefit. You will be receiving the semester tickets from the university, where you can travel within the city limits up to a certain radius, either for concessions, in concessions, or for free in all the public transportation. And you will be getting concessions to access the library or to enjoy the entertainments available and all these things. So the semester contribution will be really beneficial for your activities in Germany. The next structured program is from Friedrich Schiller University in Jena, and this is from the Graduate College of the Economics of Innovative Change, and the degree, the graduation offered is PhD or doctorate in political science. Here again you can do your PhD in English medium, and as I told you already, some universities might accept the applications round about the year. Even for this particular program, it's going to be round about the year. It is any time in the year, and it has 6 semesters. And the proof of language knowledge, that is the English language proof, you don't need to have an IELTS or TOEFL, but some proof to state that you have completed your masters in English medium. Okay, and here the semester contribution is 245 euros, and there is no tuition fees, and there is no particular specific application deadline as such. You can apply at any point of time in the whole year. So these are just the examples. We are not recommending these courses or the universities, just to give an example about the structured programs offered by the graduate schools and the universities. Yeah. So, and how do you, so once you have shortlisted the course, okay, and if it is going to be, now so far we have talked about the structured program offered, and how is it going to be if it is going to be an individual approach, the traditional method of approaching a professor. So while you are approaching a professor in the traditional method, so what are the things that you should have in your mind is like, what should you do, and why this particular professor should consider you. You should mention all these things, and why while you are structuring your statement of purpose. Okay, and of course, like, you can check with your Indian contacts to approach the professor. If your the current home university professors, if they have any contacts with them, they can help you by approaching them. And of course, once you send your application to them, you can contact them by repeated communication, but not in the very next day or so, but give some time, maybe a couple of weeks or so that they take some time to read your information, because it's not only people over here or in India, people across the world keep sending applications to them, so they will be receiving bundles and bundles of emails every day, so they will have to shortlist your profile from that list. So that thing will be talked more about, we'll be focusing more onto that in the panel discussion with the professors here. Okay. Yeah. So again, drafting your research proposal, it has to be really original. Make sure that you are pointing to your subject research work, and identify the knowledge of your research field that is most important. It should be more relevant to what you're talking about, and make sure it is perfectly edited before you are sending it to any professor. So do not make any mistakes in the spelling. So do check several times before applying to any professor. And of course, we have example on how to write a research proposal in our website. You can just go to daad.in. In download option, like you can find an example of how to write a PhD. You can just check it out. Yeah. And coming to the scholarship, so once you have got the admission letter from the professor, but you don't have the funding for yourself in Germany, so DAAD is one among the organizations which provide the funding. So we have two flagship scholarships of DAAD. One is the doctoral research grant that is provided for the doctoral programs in Germany, which is applicable for all the subjects. It is not restricted to any particular subjects field. It is applicable for all the subjects, whatever you are going to take. So once you can apply to this particular scholarship only when you have the admission letter or an acceptance from the professor. It could be a structured program or an individual method of approaching a professor. On either if it is going to be on the either ways, you can apply for the DAAD funding. So the duration of this scholarship will be for maximum of 4 years, and the value is about 1,200 euros plus your travel allowances. And the deadline for this particular scholarship is 20th of October. It is announced only once in a year. So as I said, like it's going a master degree holder, or if you are in your final semester of masters and if you had already received an admission letter or an acceptance from a professor from Germany, you can apply for this scholarship. And one of the most important criteria is if you had already completed your masters, your last degree should not be older than 6 years. If it is older than 6 years, you can't apply for the DAAD scholarship. Yeah. So these are some important information about the funding. And of course, along with the funding part, DAAD offers the language program also. So it's actually a 1-year process applying for the PhD scholarship. So once you apply for it, you will be getting to know the results. Say this October 20th is the deadline for the PhD scholarship. So once you apply for that, by December or by January, you will be getting to know whether you got shortlisted for an interview. So by the end of January 2023, you will be attending an interview with a panel of people from Germany as well as from our regional office. So if you are shortlisted in that, then you get the scholarship. So that result you will be knowing sometime in the end of March, and by May 2023 you will be leaving to Germany to start with learning the German language, and by September 2023 you will be starting with your research work in Germany. So as far as concerned with the DAAD scholarship, please do remember it is not an immediate process, it's a 1-year process. So by October you apply for the scholarship along with the admission letter. If you are shortlisted, you will have to attend an interview the next year in January. By April you will be getting to know the results, and by May you will be leaving to Germany to start learning the language, and by September 2023 you will be starting with your research work. So this is applicable for all the research scholarships for PhD. The next one is the binationally supervised doctoral degree or co-title. So basically this binationally supervised scholarship is if you had already started with your PhD here in your home country, you can do the second part of it in Germany. If you get an acceptance from a professor, then you come back to your home country and finish your research work. So that's why it's called binationally supervised. Here, if in the co-title part, if your home institution has an MOU with that particular university already, your degree will be issued with both. But if it is going to be only with, there is no MOU as such, you are approaching a professor directly and you get an invite, so you just go there and the German supervisor will be supervising that particular research work as there. Then you come back to India and then your Indian professor will be validating it, end of it, and you will be receiving the degree from the Indian institution. Okay, so there is a difference in these. And of course, like for this binationally supervised, it is offered for 2 years and it is going to be 1,200 euros per month, and of course the same deadline, it is October 20th. So all the information I had told you already, like it's a 1-year process, it's applicable for this scholarship also. So the eligibility criteria is like your one of the most important one is you should not if you had registered for a PhD here already, it should not be older than 3 years to apply for this particular scholarship. Okay, and the supervision will be done by the Indian supervisor as well as your German supervisor. Yeah, and of course your it covers travel subsidy as well as your health insurance or accident insurance, and everything is covered over here along with the German language training also. So these are the two flagship scholarships of DAAD, and the other one is DAAD DLR research fellowships. It's applicable for mostly for the space research and transportation. It is subject specific and scholar specific. You can check more about this on daad.de/DLR website. Yeah, and the application process for the scholarship. So once you get an admission letter, you are planning for a scholarship by DAAD, then you read the announcement in the DAAD funding guide portal. Then you prepare your documents based on whatever the requirement criteria, whatever the documentation is required, prepare it and then register in the portal. It is portal.daad.de. That will be the website where you will be applying your for the scholarship, and then you finally submit your applications. So once you get into the portal, you will have to register with your name and email ID, and then you will be selecting the option personal funding. It is not project funding, it is a personal funding option you will be selecting for the application process. Yeah. So so the other scholarships apart from the PhD, as already mentioned, like DAAD provides scholarship for all the fields and all the levels. So for bachelors there is one particular scholarship which is called WISE scholarship. It is offered for 3 months, and the other one is for masters, particularly subject specific. For masters it is very subject specific. It is not applicable for all the STEM category of subjects. It is subject specific and very limited. It is for architecture, fine arts, development related, sustainability courses, and for public policy. So these are all the limited courses where DAAD offers scholarship for master's program. And for PhD, as we have already seen, it is applicable for all the subjects. It is not restricted to any specific subject as such. It could be any subject that you are planning to do. You can apply for the PhD scholarship, be it it's going to be the full funding or it's going to be the binationally supervised, a part of it that you do in Germany, or you wanted to do 100% in Germany. Yeah. So we have almost come to the conclusion of the presentation now. So as far as concerned with, so once you apply to the university, you get the admission, apply for the funding, then you apply for the visa. So if you are in this region belonging to Chennai, Tamil Nadu, Puducherry, Andhra Pradesh and Pondicherry, you will be applying to Chennai consulate. So we will be having a visa talk soon after this by Mrs. Wagner. She will be presenting more about the visa for PhD students. Yeah, and here are our contact email addresses. So if you have any further questions or clarifications regarding PhD and funding, you can contact us. For Chennai, it's chennai@daadindia.org. You can mail us with your queries. We are here to help you out. If not by email, you can contact us via phone also, or if you think that you need an appointment, you can book an appointment through our website. Either you meet us in office or you book an online appointment so that we can talk online also. So it's based on convenience, and maybe we can have a few questions if you have anything right now, or we can have the question by the end of the session also. Yeah. Yeah, there is one question here.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, hello.
In 22 October, suppose someone got admission later, and next year in 23 September the scholarship will approve if he qualify the interview. Then that university will allow the time of 1 year for joining.
Yeah, you should be first, if the university doesn't provide you with the funding, then you will be informing that you are applying for the DAAD funding, right? So the university usually knows that it's going to be a 1 year process, but from your end you have to inform them that you are applying for the DAAD funding, so they will have to wait for it, wait for your arrival there. Yeah, you will have to inform the professor that you are applying for the DAAD funding, so they wait for your arrival. Yeah,
okay.
That will be considered.
Thank
But you have to inform them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Maybe if there are no questions, we can go to, yeah.
Ma'am, which among TOEFL and IELTS is like majorly accepted in?
I'm sorry, I'm not getting it.
Which among TOEFL or IELTS is majorly accepted in Germany?
Both. There is nothing specific. It is equally valid. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, it's based on your convenience, whichever you prefer to do, and
Both are equal.
both are equally accepted.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And even that mostly you will not need at the PhD level. Some of them ask, some don't.
There is one more, yeah.
Ma'am, you just informed only for the institution, but not mentioned the courses for chemistry. Discipline is not mentioned. So, which university is going the best university for how to find out?
No, as far as concerned with German universities, you don't need to worry about the quality, which is the topmost or anything like that. There is no discrimination as such when it comes to German universities. All are equal.
All universities are available in all disciplines?
Basically, when you are applying for any positions or for any subjects, first you will have to identify if your subject is available there, if that is taught in English medium.
Okay.
That is why we say ranking doesn't work there, because there could be the topmost universities also, but the subject preference of yours may not be available in that particular university, or it may not be available in 100% in English language. So you have to identify your course based on what is available there. You will be identifying it from our databases, like the links we had provided. Check if your course is available there and check if it is 100% in English, then you apply for that program.
Please, you should include the best university.
Our databases cover all the universities for all fields.
Okay.
So subject specific search you make, that will give you the correct results depending on where you want to work.
Okay, thank you.
Hello ma'am. Ma'am, can we opt to scholarship while doing research in Germany? Means like we have DAD, NOS, or some funding will be there to our project.
Yeah, that you can do, but it should not be beyond the limits. Basically, like when you are applying for the scholarship, it will be given as it is. You have to mention that this particular, you have applied for the scholarship and you already have it. So based on the scholarship that you had received already from whichever institution, this amount of scholarship will be adjusted to that, so that you don't pay a tax there.
Okay, because 1,200 euro, you feel it's a quite expensive country, as we know, Germany. So
That is also
For a student research scholar, 1,200 is quite a good amount. I don't think PhD scholars have problems with that. And of course, remember your health insurance is also covered, and you also get a travel subsidy. But then, as she told, in case you apply for one more scholarship, you have to disclose it to DAAD. And then check up if there are any conditions or regulations based on that.
Okay. Dankeschön. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can take one last question now. Yeah, and we can go to the next presentation. Yeah.
Some of the project funded PhDs are like the deadlines. Some of the project funded PhDs are not this academia.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you at all.
So some of the project funded PhDs, they ask for you have to join as soon as possible, something like that. So how does that work?
You have to check with that particular university if they have any funding.
So DLR has advertisements like that. So so how does
So
that?
you can approach DLR and you can identify when the process in that particular field.
Okay.
As it is call specific, you will have to check individually for that particular program, whichever you are applying. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think last year. Yes.
So I had a question about the timeline. So the timeline was a bit interesting because so we found the scholarship, right? The DART scholarship. I apply by October this year. But you said that for, let's say I want to get into the winter intake next year, I apply in November, if I'm not wrong. So how does that timeline work? So do I have to apply for a PhD this year and apply for a scholarship next year, or how does that work? So
When you are applying for, if it is a structured program, you will be applying, say for example, you will be eligible to apply for, considering you are on your final year of masters or completed your masters now, you will be eligible to apply for this September. We are already in September now, so April intake will be a little bit tough, but the 2023 intake.
Right.
Okay, so if it is a 2023 intake, by June, July, you will be getting to know the results from the university. You will get an admission letter by June or July 2023. So the deadlines for the application for the DAD funding is October 20th. So in that case, if you are applying in 2023, then you will be going to Germany in 2024.
I'll have to account for that year in between for the scholarship as well.
I know what he means. You can apply when you're in your final year masters also. Let's say you're completing masters next April. You can apply now. In case you have a acceptance already, it's possible to apply now, so that by the time you complete masters, you'll be.
Okay, so I can look for so I'm in my first year actually right now.
Yes, when you're in your second year of your masters, you can apply as long as you have an acceptance and your proposal drawn up already.
Okay, so but like if I'm in my second year and I apply for a PhD in November, so I have to finish my masters and after that I'll have to apply for the scholarship, I guess, right?
No, you can apply for
apply.
the scholarship this year itself. If let us say you're completing your masters in 2023 May, you are in the second year of masters now, you already have an acceptance. You apply for the DAD scholarship, you also get the DAD scholarship, then you can go next September itself.
Okay, understood.
As long as you get your course completion by next June. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. Otherwise it's a 1 year wait.
What about the research institute? Because that time.
Hello. So you are telling about the universities, right? What about the research institute? Because the application is closed at 20th October, right? So, for example, few institutes like Max Planck, they took the scholars around February and March because they want to start the project that time. So, that case it will be applicable or not?
See, because institutes like Max Planck give their own funding.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, in which case you don't have to bother about the DAD funding at all. Max Planck will give you their scholarship, and with that acceptance you can straight away apply for the visa and go.
Okay.
Only if you do not get funding from the university or from the research center, then you apply for the DAD scholarship.
Okay.
Max Plancks usually have their own scholarship for their international PhD students.
Okay.
But if they don't have, then DAD scholarship time frame is not flexible.
Okay.
It is fixed. You'll have to work around it.
Okay.
But if Max Planck is giving funding, then don't bother. You won't have to apply for the DAD funding at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask one more question. Like, is there any institute offer the direct PhD? So in German.
Direct PhD meaning after bachelor's?
Yes.
Generally no, because you need a master's degree in the relevant subject to apply for a PhD.
Suppose the students can study the relevant course
You can
extra.
check. The professor concerned you can check with, but in general you need a master's.
Because they are asking the credits, like the point credits from the course. Like suppose they are fulfilling that from outside, like online course, like that. If it is applicable or not.
Check with the professor, but in general you need a master's degree.
Okay.
I think we'll conclude with this question and then we'll go on to the next part of the program. So I request our panelists to please come on stage and then we can start the panel discussion. So we are going to have a small panel discussion. So we have four of our DAD Humboldt Germany alumni here. I would just like to give a couple of sentences about introduction about them. Thereafter, I would request them to talk more on their research areas and what was their Germany Connect. So we have with us Professor Milind Brame from IIT Madras, and he is a DRD alumnus. He did his sandwich PhD at University of Göttingen, if I am right. Then we have with us Professor Shanti Bhattacharya, who is also from IIT Madras, and Shanti is a Humboldt Fellow, and she spent more than 2 years at the TU Darmstadt in Germany. And next we have Dr. Ing Saptarshi Sasmal, who is from CSIR SERC Chennai. He is also a DAD fellow who did his PhD at the University of Stuttgart. And then we have Dr. Prakash Saivasan. He is from very much IMSC here itself. He had done his postdoctoral research at TU Braunschweig as well as University of Kaiserslautern. So without much ado, I would also like to add that DAD has a concept of network of academicians who are known as research ambassadors, who are DAD or Humboldt or Germany alumni, who every 2 or 3 years we have a tenure for these research ambassadors. I'm happy to say, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, Dr. Arijit Samal, Professor Milind Brame, as well as Dr. Sasmal are DAD research ambassadors who have been elected this year, and last week only they had their meeting at New Delhi. So these you will see the profiles of the research ambassadors on the DAD homepage also. So they are people who are very happy to advise, suggest and mentor students on research prospects in Germany. So welcome to all of you. And of course, I think those who maybe came a little later, I am Padma Chandramouli. I am from the DAD office in Chennai. So maybe let's start with Professor Brame. Milind, just a few lines on your research, field of interest and your Germany Connect.
Hello everyone, a very good morning, and thank you Padma for having us here. It's nice to be at an event in Math Sciences. I've been here a few times but never really participated in an event in Math Sciences. Yeah, very quickly, my Germany Connect, my area of research is German language and literature, and so the Germany Connect is very obvious. What else would I research, and where else would I research? The journey with Germany, I would call it that way, began for me in 1986. That was when Germany was still East and West. You still had the FRG and the GDR. And I was sent to Germany, out of the blue it came. I was sent to Germany by the Goethe Institute in Pune for a language course as a scholarship, and that completely changed my academic life. In the sense, I came back and I decided that this is what I want to do. I just want to keep on studying German. And I went on to finish a PhD in JNU, during which I got the chance to apply for the DRDA sandwich program. I had just started in the early 90s, and I was lucky enough to go to a very renowned professor in the University of Göttingen. My topic was comparative research between Marathi literature and German literature, and I spent a year in Göttingen. And then after coming back, of course, I stayed with academics, have been teaching German language and literature for the last 30 odd years, and recently, after joining IIT Madras, we managed to have a very, very fruitful cooperation with the DRDA funding with the Hochschule Bremen, which is the University of Applied Sciences in Bremen, and we had a very successful exchange program of students and faculty members for about 10 years, and it is now in the process of being renewed. And during 2014 to 2018, we also had, I also work in the area of pedagogy and education, and we had a very, very good cooperation with the University of Würzburg, Seminar für Institut für Sonderpädagogik at the University of Würzburg, and we worked a lot on the idea of inclusion in education and how the German perspective and the Indian perspective on inclusion, what are the areas that match, where are they diverse, and so on and so forth, which led to the first international conference, world conference on something called multi-grade, multi-level learning education in IIT Madras in 2016, which was majorly funded by UNICEF, for example, and of course by the DAAD also, and led to the publication of a volume on inclusion in school education in India, co-edited by my German partner and us Indian partner. So I've been, my connect with Germany has shifted from German language and literature to development studies after I joined IIT Madras, because that's the area that I'm working in IIT. But I want to connect back with language and literature now. Okay. Yeah, that is my connect with.
Yeah, thank you so much, Milind. Yeah. Now, Shanti.
Hello. So thanks, Padma, for organizing this and inviting us. So my connect is, I went to Germany after my PhD. I went for a postdoc. I had a Alexander von Humboldt fellowship, and that was in 1998. So I finished my PhD and I left immediately. I was in Germany for 3 years, so I had the fellowship for a couple of years, and then my professor there offered a guest scientist position, so I stayed for some more time. And I moved around across the world, finally ended up in IIT Madras, where I'm now a professor. But since then I've been back to Germany, I think for work 4 times, maybe 4 or 5 times, for visits ranging from 4 weeks to 4 months. So I would say that German funding is very generous, not only in the one time that you get it, but mostly when you make a good connection, it's very easy to go back again. So with the Humboldt for sure, and I know with Dad also, that once you have that worked out, once you have a good connection or collaboration with somebody, it's really quite easy, or let me say it's not difficult to go back again. And so I've been back, and it's not that I've been back to the same institute. I was first in Darmstadt, but then I went to a Max Planck Institute in Stuttgart, and then I went to a university in Karlsruhe. So I've been, you are able to go back and to work with different people in different areas. My background is fully physics, Angewandte Optik, applied optics, but now I work in the electrical engineering department in IIT Madras. And I think rather than say more now, I'm happy to answer questions or give suggestions later.
Okay. Thank you so much. Can you just give it me? Yeah. Saptashi, or few lines about, yes.
Hello, it's a very good morning to all of you. And I would like to thank DAAD, New Delhi, and also the Chennai chapter for giving me the opportunity. So my name is Saptarishi. I am from CSIR laboratory here, just in the back side of this. It is called the Structural Engineering Research Center. So by the name itself, that is clear that I do structures. So I do the mechanics basically of structures. My connections with Germany, it started in 2006, and I got the DAAD fellowship for doing the full-time PhD in Germany. And as a part of it, I think this is a bonus for me that I could also learn German, but now that has gone down. But I was in a school in Marburg. It is a fantastic city, so I did my German studies. Means that it's a language course for 4 months, and then I came to Stuttgart. So my research area was mainly focusing on the safety of structures under the extreme events. I think that is the thing that all of us are very much concerned about, that how it is happening. So after my PhD, I have been back here, and I am basically a scientist, and I am leading a group now. It is called Spatial and Multifunctional Structures Group, because what we are trying to do, that how to make the structure smarter and also greener, because that we are talking about the sustainability development goals, SDGs and all. So that we have to be not only sustainable, also it should be smarter, so that we are doing it. So I will not go into the whole details of the things, but I think that whatever is the experience and whatever is the help that we can do in small way, this one, that will be always eager to do so. And as Professor Sati was telling, that it is the beauty of the German fellowships is that once you are in, that you are in forever. I think that is the best part of it. So that we will be seeing the things much more. Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, what you, Prakash.
Thank you. Thanks first of all for organizing this wonderful event. I kind of missed it before my PhD. And thanks for inviting me.
You can send your students.
Sure. Yeah, so my connection with Germany has been that I've been a postdoc there for nearly 3.5 years. First I was a postdoc in University of Kaiserslautern, then my professor moved to University of Braunschweig, and I mean he took all of us along with him to University of Braunschweig. Both were wonderful places. And mainly I work on what I can describe as formal verifications. I will not go into the technical details of it. But Germany as such was a wonderful place to do research. There was no I mean you were never limited by anything. So it was a wonderful place to do your research, and it was a very creative place. Like it gave enough creative freedom. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Prakash. Maybe we'll start with Milind again. Milind, can you just tell the students the significance of intercultural aspects, especially when you deal with other fellow research scholars if you're doing research in Germany?
Be punctual. No, I mean, that is of course meant only half as a joke, half seriously as well. But the thing is that the good thing about globalization is that among the students there is a certain cultural connect anyways nowadays. I mean, it was different during our time. I mean, actually even during our time it was still okay in the 90s. But I remember in the 80s going there as almost a school student in 86 to Germany, to West Germany that time, and that period was totally different. I mean, you really needed to have some knowledge of German language, have some knowledge of the day-to-day routine that was there in Germany in order to be able to connect properly with the people that you are interacting with. Having said that, I mean, having said that today the globalization has seen to it that we have a lot more in common culturally, the youth especially. But I would still say that there are certain things that one should be aware of, particularly the fact that we do, in a certain sense, represent the culture we come from when we are in a quote-unquote foreign country. I'm very careful with these words because I'm not very great fan of these words, foreign country and so on and so forth. So, but we do represent a certain culture, and I think the awareness of that comes to us suddenly when we are in the situation, and that awareness is very important for our learning. That awareness is very important for us to understand that we need to relate to the other, to the person that we're interacting with, and that the person that we're interacting with has come from a different system, has a different history, and that culture has a different history. All these facts are very important, and I think they are, apart from the fact that you might be doing your research in computational biology or neurosciences or optics, for example. But I think these kind of interactions that happen where you become aware of yourself and of the person that you're interacting with, they are fantastic learning experiences. I think nothing makes us different and better people than those experiences, and that is one of the things that connects me very strongly with Germany, because I believe that my studying German and German literature actually brought me back to my own literary tradition and language in a very different manner, and that is something that I feel you will become aware of your own culture much more qualitatively differently in that interaction. And so I would say be open, take it seriously, and I think it will be one of the most enriching experiences you'll ever have in your life.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Right, yeah. Thank you so much, Milind. Now let's get on to Shanti. What homework would you advise research aspirants to do before they start mailing professors or the prospective supervisors?
So several things. One is So most probably you're mailing somebody because they work in an area that you're interested in. So one thing is you visit, every professor nowadays will have a good website. Visit the website, see what their latest research is, and really have a good idea of what your interest is. If you have done some mini project or something in that area, you highlight that. Or if you're looking early enough, it's really good to be able to do a mini project, or you're doing your master's, pick something which you feel would be relevant. If you haven't done that, a lot of research today is very interdisciplinary. So maybe you have an interest in biology, but you have more courses in programming or deep learning. There are a lot of connections nowadays. So you need to look at what research work the person is doing, and you read their papers and they'll say this is the challenge, or these are the unanswered questions here, and you might be able to say, well, I have background in this which is very different from what you're doing, but it could be relevant. Or there is this paper, you don't understand it yet, but you can see they're pulling in ideas from a course you've done or a project you've done, or what was the focus of the degree that you're doing and how it could be relevant to this person's research. So I think you need to bring those points across very clearly. As Padma said, somebody had said in the talk that maybe Kavita, professors get a lot of applications. You need to have something in your application that makes the professor want to look or take the time to stop and look at your application. So it's really important to really know what is the professor working on, what you can bring. And it's not just words, not saying I can bring this, but doing a mini project, maybe working with somebody here doing a summer project or a one-year project with a professor here, and then bringing that information. So I think it's very important to do that.
Thank you so much, Shanti. On a lighter note, since we mentioned about too many emails, some students, now every generation is getting smarter, we know. Some of the students gave me this idea. For example, let's say you're a professor, you come on a Monday morning and you have about 50 emails in your inbox. You keep seeing them. Suddenly one new email pops up. What do you do? Tell me. Check the latest. So these students told me, keep your mails ready and drafted. Check what time normally professors come around 8 o'clock to the university, between 8 and 9. No, there. Yeah. So say morning session on a Monday, then time it and then send your mail, because there's a bigger chance that the professor sees your mail because it pops up when he or she is reading the mails of the previous week. So this, on a lighter note, I thought I'll add. And now over to Saptarshi. So does a student need a research proposal ready before contacting a prospective supervisor? And normally, what do you say? What are the documents you need a student should send in the first go when they contact a potential supervisor?
Okay, I think it's a very interesting and also very important question that we should really look into it, because basically the first impression is the lasting impression, that how you are getting it. So what I would suggest you, that don't bombard with information and where the professor is not really ready to read those things. And my suggestion would be like this: you should be very careful on your drafting the letter, that the email body, that you should not have any mistakes, the grammatical mistakes, the English mistakes. It is not about the English language, it is about your care. So how much care do you give, or how much due diligence that you give for the important things? So that is the first thing. Second thing is that you should not be too short that you have not conveyed anything, neither that it should be too long, it is talking too much. So I feel that you can having a 2 or 3 paragraphs, and there you can first introduce yourself in a brief way, and you should customize. I have seen by my personal impression that I get a lot of mails and I could see the mail, I can see that they have simply changed the name and they have simply sent it. That is actually going into the adverse of you. I think that you should be customize the mail to whom that you are writing, so you should personalize. So you see that where he or she is having interest or expertise, and try to link yourself with that. And the third point is that how you could be a beneficial or having an extra advantage for him or her if he is choosing. By having said that, I would say you don't send a too detailed that research proposal at that moment, or get ready and put the things. And also one more impression what I got from my professor, because I used to do some of the works for him, because that when I was there, so that I can share it very frankly, is that instead of the attachments, much of the attachments, so many, if you have any link that which can clearly and fast way it can go to your information, so you can embed some link that will be useful for you. And the research proposal may not be required at that stage because it will be too much for him, but you can also give a hint that in which area that you are having expertise, and it should be really the expertise. It is not a fantasy, but it's not that you are trying to get some buzzwords like that, having a green environment, nano and all sort of things, that you should be very careful that what you are talking, and you give a glimpse of it. And I feel that, I think Kavita also mentioned, don't the next day morning say, hey, so I am giving you a gentle reminder that for my mail. You don't do that. Don't do that. It is going beyond that thing. You should give a decent time. And from my experience, I have seen that the professors are very sincere and they will give a reply, but you should give time. In case he or she misses it, after some time that that how much time it can be, after 2 weeks or so, you can give a gentle reminder. But if he is interested or she is interested, then they will ask you, so what is your plan of work, or what the detailed way, so you can go in steps and in a very systematic way. So don't be too aggressive and don't be too fast, and neither you should be too shy. So that is from my side.
On a lighter note, can I just add to what Saptarshi just said? Please don't start a mail saying, hey bro, or something like that, okay? Keep it, no need to be very, very this thing also, but keep it nice and formal in the first email especially. I've got prospective interns who address me as, hey there, or something like that. Okay.
No SMS jargon.
And one more thing, when you do your research, please check the gender of the person you're replying to. The good thing is, if you're unable to see a picture and you can't make out from the name, you can say, dear professor. But the number of emails I get which just assume I'm a man and say, I have researched you and I know all about your work, and I know you don't know anything about me if you don't even know I'm a woman. So if you want the person reading your mail to think you've actually looked at them and their work, at least get the gender right. So it goes to what he was saying also.
And the surname.
And just one more addition, that as he said, that thing is that it's a little formal, so when you address it, don't address in the first name, because that you are not too friendly at that moment to call in first name. So my suggestion is that you can say the Herr or Frau, or maybe dear professor, surname. So that you put it first. You don't say that Balthasar, Johannes and all those things. Be formal at the first stage. I think it will be safe for you.
Right, yeah. Now to Prakash, maybe a few lines on what exactly motivated you towards your advanced research in Germany, and some special tips, suggestions you would like to give for a successful PhD application or any research application.
Yeah, so what prompted me to go to Germany was accident, I would say. I was attending a conference where I had a paper, and there was this professor from Germany who came there. We had an informal chat. I explained to him what I was doing, and I was telling him that I'm soon finishing my PhD, and he said, why didn't you join my lab? So that's how I went to
You were lucky.
Yeah, so some tips. First of all, you're in the right place, so let me argue that you're in the right place. There has been enough material that has been put up to say that you're in the right place. But in general, I think 15%, if I'm not wrong, of German students are international students, and we also saw that we are, I mean, the Indians are second in the list, second largest in the list. And you should also know that Germany is the second largest producers of PhD, next only to United States. So, I mean, you have a lot of opportunities. Of course, DAD is one opportunity provider which provides intercontinental research. So, you are in a very right place to seek what you seek, what you want to seek. But there is a catch here, that first you should be clear of what you seek. The advice that I would like to give you is, try to be clear of what you want. Suppose you want to do your PhD, very good, but after 2 years if you realize that this is not what you want to do, then you are actually creating problems to many of them. First of all, to yourself, you have lost 2 years of your time. You have lost, I mean, whoever is hiring you, you have lost his time, or you have wasted his time. You have wasted the funds of your funding organization, and you also, not only that, you have wasted an opportunity for another person who could have done well. So the first thing that you should do is be clear of what you want. And the second thing that you should develop is to do research is patience. So starting from not wanting a reply the very next day. And I mean, in general, apart from doing your serious research, go have fun. This is also my advice. For instance, when I was in Germany, I developed the habit of hiking. So I was in Braunschweig, and there is this Harz mountain very nearby to Braunschweig, and I used to go there every weekend and hike there. So this is also important part of being in a different country. So I would give you all this advice, and maybe I hand it back.
Thank you so much, Prakash. So let's start with Milind again. So you are being a teacher of German, I should ask you this: importance of knowing German language in a research scholar's day-to-day life.
Since I'm a teacher of German, I'll say importance of knowing German language is universal. Not just research scholar. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm saying that because I feel that, seriously speaking, we Indians, when we look at the West, or when we look at the world, we only have the frame of the English language to look at the world from, and to look at everything in the world. It is all mediated to us through English. The importance of knowing German is to understand that there is a different way of looking at the world, and that is very, very important. And I think, I do believe that there are as many worlds as there are languages. And so if you know German, then you know the world through a different language, and that is extremely important for anybody as a person to develop. That is at a slightly philosophical level. But in day-to-day communication, there is no better icebreaker, I would say, than the knowledge of the German language. And the better it is, the easier maybe sometimes also, if you make mistakes, that can lead to funny situations and that can break the ice also. But I think an attempt to learn German is, or I will not limit it to German alone. I would say any language that is not your own. Okay, in this case, since we are dealing with Germany, and since that happens to be my professional life, German. But an attempt to learn German, if you are going to go to Germany for doing research, for doing higher studies, etc., then it will definitely help you in a day-to-day communication, no doubt about that. Even though, as Kavita said, for doing PhD you don't need, you can do it in English basically, but even then you will realize how much of a difference it makes to know German a little bit. And in fact, I would say to know German more than a little bit, it makes a lot of difference.
Yeah.
But it will, if you start liking learning a foreign language, then German can be one of the most rewarding languages that you'll ever learn. That is something guaranteed. The amount of literature and philosophy and science that exists in German is incredible, and so it would be great if all of you started learning German.
Thank you so much, Milind. Yeah, now Shanti. A lot of students ask this. Of course, this is a little against what Prakash said. You have to be clear. but sometimes students are not clear on their research. They always ask us how to develop new research ideas, and in this context maybe the significance of reading a lot of publications also, a little bit on that, and any important resources in your particular field, if you mention also, it will be nice.
So we live in an age where there is no dearth of information. If you're unsure but you have a broad interest, I would say look up talks. So what happened during COVID was a lot of conferences went hybrid, and they even let people register without, you didn't have to pay. So some conferences do continue to do that, that if you are going to be attending online, you don't even have to pay. So I would say look for some of the big conferences in the area and see if you can register and attend plenary talks or the keynote speakers. They'll give you a broad overview of that area, and you might realize, I find this boring, it's not my cup of tea. You might see that, oh, this is interesting. And as I said earlier, they will often say these are the hot areas, these are where people are working on now, these are the problems that haven't been solved yet. So you get very good ideas. Even today I find that useful to me as a researcher, to pick up on something new or something challenging to work on. So I think that's a very good starting point. Other thing you can do is, we have very good courses online freely available. These are NPTEL courses. They cover all areas. I mean, I know Milind has NPTEL course, I have an NPTEL course, I'm sure other faculty here have offered NPTEL courses. So you're not sure you're interested in optics, you don't even know what it is, there's an optics NPTEL course. These are free courses, you can register for them, you can attend the lectures when you find the time to do so. You could register, do the course formally, or they're all available on YouTube. So you could listen to a few lectures, give you an idea. So it lets you taste different things, and you can, don't try too many things, but in the broad range of interest, you can listen to a few and that can help narrow down your interest. What I would also say is, if you're doing an undergraduate or a master's, many of your courses allow flexibility. So your seniors may say, do this course, this course, this course, but allow yourself the freedom to pick a different course. Explore something you're a bit scared of or unsure of. It's one course, and it may be an eye-opener for you and give you a completely different idea into something. It's never a loss to learn it, because that topic may become useful in your area of research later. And I think the last thing I would say is, you have a lot of open access journals now, and you'll have review papers. So again, pick those up, and that gives you a breadth of area. These are just tips to help you decide what is really of interest to you. So I think those would be good places to start.
Thank you so much. Maybe on the same thread, I would like to ask Saptarshi how important it is about to have interdisciplinary approach in your specific field of research, because a lot of advanced research, so many fields come into focus. So could you elaborate a little on the interdisciplinary approach, especially related to your specific research field?
Yeah, I think that is I think this is a very important point. And I feel that the interdisciplinary field is not a choice now, it's a must. So why I will tell first my experience, then I will go a little broader. So when I was doing my PhD, I was talking about the safety of the structures under the extreme loadings. Means extreme loading can be of anything. It can be earthquake, it can be tsunami, and also nowadays newly things come about the man-made hazard. Though the nature doesn't do that, man does. So those things are coming. Now when we are solving the problem how to make the safety of the things, then we have seen that we need to sense, like a doctor sense your temperature, your all this test, blood report and all that, you have to sense the responses. Then that you needed the sensor, right? I am telling in general. And a sensor gives you data like the ECG, right? And then it's an expert who will do the signal processing. After the signal processing, then when it is happening, then you have to understand that how you relate to the structural mechanics. So it is not a one field that you are from the engineering or you are from the biology or you are from mathematics. I feel that if you want to take a comprehensive problem, and and I will not say I think that it is better for you to having a big picture. So research problem is a problem, but you should having a big picture clear for what you are doing it. If you do it, so what it can lead to, and what is the futuristic ideas, right? If you are having a clear idea about the big picture, and if you can connect with the interdisciplinary approaches, not only your problem solution will be much robust and things, it will be a very satisfying experience. Now that is my personal experience I am telling. Now if you go into a little broader sense, you will be seeing some different collaborations or different fellowships and different calls are coming. You can search in the different funding agencies, even not only from the DAD or the Humboldt, you go to the JSPS or you go to the Fulbright, everywhere. So there is having a special interest or special, this is going to emphasize on the interdisciplinary research. So it is not that you have to connect about some fields, but it is in the reverse way. For solving and for a meaningful solving a problem, so you need the knowledge and expertise from the many people. So the silo-based research and the one-man job, I think it is not the way to go forward. So I will really honestly request you that you should go through some of the things which you feel it may not make sense. So there is no point in having a pre-notion of the things. You can simply listen to the different talks, and then sometimes what happens, so out of 10 good talks, it may click some idea. Yeah, I feel this also is working for me. So it can be a lasting experience, and it will be very good for your research. And you can, if you can take the research as your career, as a scientist or as a professor, it will be really rewarding for you too, because it will be it's a long-term progress.
Thank you so much, Saptarshi. Now to Prakash, what are the important aspects considered while selecting a candidate for a research-based position in the industry, because we are all talking about academia so far, and just some idea on the forms of cooperation which exist between research centers and industry. Just throw some light on that.
Yeah, so before I answer this question, maybe I add one point to Professor Bammi's answer to why learning German language is important. Let me ensure that I get this correct. Das Land der Dichter und Denker, right? Yeah, so
Land der Dichter und Denker.
Yeah, so it says that Germany is the land of poets and thinkers, so there is a lot of literature.
Engineers and scientists also.
Yeah, so coming to the answer to my question, so why, what do you look for in a research position for the industry, if I understand the question correctly?
Yes.
So, of course, there are all kinds of positions in industry, where people after their masters, after their bachelors go and join industry. There are certain positions which need niche skills, and if you follow the presentation carefully, by Kavita, there are many, of course, you should already know that looking at the presentation of Kavita, how structured Germany already is. So they have funding separately for each different industries, and there is this, for instance, the MPS, right? Max Planck Society for Life Sciences. Then there is this Fraunhofer funding. So these are all collaborations with industry, and they recognize that there is a lot of industrial solutions which need niche skills, and they are somehow trying to develop these skill sets for the industry, and this is what industry requires. And you should probably place yourself after your PhD so that you don't go back to working in positions where they don't need these niche skills, but you develop these skills in such a way so that you go and place yourself in positions where it is required. So this is one advice that I would give you. And I think this is what the industry requires. There is a lot of manpower which requires very niche skills, which is lacking, and they need people for it, and you should find those positions and try to train yourself for these positions. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Prakash. Now this is an optional question. My list is over. So this, as a Dichter und Denker, maybe I'll ask any of you can answer this. Just summarize in 2 sentences the Germany impact in your life. Maybe we can use it as a slogan later next year for our posters.
Yeah,
okay. Right, then okay. Then we'll mail you and then, no, just not as a slogan, just.
No, many of my German friends say that I'm verdeutsched. That means I've become, I've been spoiled into becoming German.
Germanized.
Germanized,
Yeah.
you can say. So, yeah, I think for me it's a little difficult to speak about impact of German and Germany in my life, because the impact was such when I was 17 years old that I decided to make German my career. So that was the impact. And ever since, I think the contact has only grown. And even though I have not been back into Germanistic since my time in Göttingen, because for my postdoc I must say I was an Austrian academic exchange fellow. I was not a German, because I was working on an Austrian writer. So so I was in Klagenfurt in Austria, and so and my time with Germany or cooperation with Germany is now shifted to development studies and education. But still, I think the impact, not just the impact, but just the fact that Germany is an indelible part of our being now, I think that is what it means to me.
Okay. Anything you would like to add? It's absolutely optional, or anything else you would like to tell the students?
I don't want to give a speech now.
Yes, yes.
So I can spend a lot of time saying how much fun I had in Germany, and I had a blast. In terms of research, in terms of traveling. They had something at that time called the Wochenende ticket. So you could travel on it, and you could go anywhere that you could travel on a cheap train. And we just did that. My husband and I would catch the train and just go as far as we could. So there was just so much fun in terms of work, in terms of travel, in terms of learning the German language, and in a less formal setting, I will tell you all the funny mistakes I made in the German language. I don't want that recorded or minuted for sure.
Milind was not your teacher,
no?
So then
no.
it's okay.
But it was so much fun in every aspect. And I'll also say that it was really good, and I think Milind referred to this, that when you leave your country, you also learn to appreciate your own country so much more. So it helped me understand and appreciate India so much more. So that's also really a good thing. So I'll just say travel in general, wonderful, and Germany was really a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, Shanti. Anything, Saptarshi, you would like to add? Just as a conclusion.
So maybe only 2 lines in the serious note, and maybe few more lines in the not serious note.
Yeah, okay.
So being in Germany, I can describe Germany from my limited experience into the 3 words, and then I will tell that is why. First is the punctuality. I saw in a bus stand the timing of the buses at 7:13, 7:19, like that. I think that for India it is a little curiosity how a 19 is coming, and it comes 19. And if you get an appointment for your professor at the time, and if you are late, I think you will be dead sure that you will not get the chance for that day, that you have to wait for the next day. So that is called about the punctuality. Second is the clarity. So when we joined the PhD, I think that we are sure, at least our group people, the professors, not only one, they have given that, okay, the expectation is this. If you can achieve this, this and this, it doesn't matter whether it's a 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 9 years, so you are done. So that clarity, I liked it so much, that is the clarity. And the third thing is ethics. The technical ethics, I think it is a very important issue nowadays. It is at the highest standard, I would say that it's in the highest standard. Even if you write a paper, the paper has to go. If the result is not coming in the proper way, and if the professor is feeling that no, it is not coming in the correct, and they will not allow you to do that. So that is the thing. So I would say that about the punctuality, about the clarity, and about the ethics. So these three things I have learned from there.
Thank you.
That is from the serious note. Now I would say about that it is in a light note, that German language learning is very important, and I also had learned and I could manage the things. And I will tell a very funny story that shows that if you do mistakes also, it is absolutely fine. So in the train, there is having a passport that we used to carry, and the checker sometimes comes and tells that you show the passport. That's called pass. Okay. And that time that we are in a language course, that we are learning some terms about the present, past, participle. So the person who was there with me, he is from Africa. He has to tell that I have forgotten my pass. So he said in the tension that ich habe gegesen. So instead of vergessen. So vergessen means I have forgotten, and gegesen means I have eaten.
Yeah.
So that he told that ich habe gegesen. Pass. The gegesen, that okay, yeah, egal. So that means that lady could understand that what he meant for. So that you can really having a fun. So you learn little German, they will really, they will love to listen from your tongue that some German words. It may be right or wrong, doesn't matter. I think you can have a lot of fun for that.
Yeah.
I wanted to share that part from this light.
Yeah, that was nice. Thank you so much, Saptarshi.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I second whatever he said, that few things that I learned personally was punctuality, discipline. I mean, punctuality, of course, he already talked about. And discipline is like, I used to work hard during my PhD, very hard. Like, I used to sometimes have night outs and work. But what I saw about the working culture of my German colleagues was, they used to come at 9 o'clock, go out around 7 o'clock, but 9 to 7, they did not waste single minute of their time. So they were very, very disciplined during that time. And after 7 o'clock, they go have fun, which is also an important part of your life. So this is something that I learned from there. I've been trying to follow it here, and of course punctuality is also something that I've been trying to follow here. And one thing that I find difficult to follow is they follow rules. So, I mean, if you, which is a bit difficult to follow here, but let me tell you what they do. So, which I was not following initially when I went to Germany. So, you go there are these lights for pedestrians, and you need to wait for the pedestrian light so that you can cross the road. And you find everyone diligently waiting for their chance to actually cross the road. Well, it does not, sadly, it does not happen here, but this is something that is part of their culture, that they are taught from their childhood, which we should somehow try to inculcate in coming days, for instance. So this we should, I mean, you wanted to add something?
That's it. That's it.
I think Padma said that she wanted a slogan for next year. I think if you are going to have any slide on learning German language, you can use Saptarshi's story as a slogan.
I'll do
Ich
that.
habe meinen Pass gegessen.
Pass gegessen. Thank you. That's right.
And can I just add one thing? I think that the participant or the attendee was asking the stipendium is so low. No? Somebody was asking. Because I can vouch that, because I was there, and when I was there, it was, I think if I am not wrong, it was 1,000 euro. I think it is much more than what you need. You are a student, and also I was a student, and the Indians generally have their own lifestyle. I think you should not have to worry about that amount. It will be much more than whatever is required.
I think it was 850 when you went. Now it is 1,200.
Okay, so I think that was more than sufficient, and also I had saved some money. Yeah, okay. I think that part is very small.
Okay. So maybe I have one more.
Yes, please. Most welcome.
Just to support Frau Kuhler's talk, I mean initial talk, that in PhD it does not matter where you do your PhD, but it matters what you do during your PhD. So it does not matter that you have to go to Aachen or a particular institute, but go where you think you can do well. So this is what is important.
Okay. So thank you so much. Thank you, Milan. Thank you, Shanti, Saptarshi. Thank you, Prakash, for such a lovely time. It was both serious academic as well as lovely anecdotes we learned from you. I'm sure the audience would have found it quite interesting and informative also. So thanks a lot for accepting our invitation and coming today. And give the session on visa procedures for PhD scholars.
Okay, so good afternoon now. And thank you for your interest and your attention, and thank you to our host today for having this session after a long break because of COVID, so really happy to be here. I'm Conny Wegener, head of the visa section at the German consulate, and I've been here for the last 5 years. So that's quite a long time. So went through COVID and all, and glad to be here with you today. So first of all, now coming to follow the rules. We heard a lot during the panel discussion, and please don't eat your passport now coming to the visa procedure. Okay, so I think you all know that we have been trying for many years to encourage people to come to study in Germany, to work, to do research, which led to the so-called fast-track procedure when it comes to visa processing. So you're all lucky if you're applying as a PhD student or a scientist or a researcher that there's a very short visa processing only, and it shouldn't also be not a big problem to get an appointment, which is the main problem now for, let's say, regular students who want to do a bachelor or master. Going back to the website, I think you all know you'll find all the detailed information on our common embassies and consulate generals websites, www.india.diplo.de, as well as the very detailed checklists. There were just recently some updated checklists for research and guest scientists as well. Okay, there are two types of visa, but there's some also short scholarship programs like WISE for bachelor students, as we learned. So there are two types of visa. It's the Schengen Visa, the short term, up to 90 days max, which is now handled since November 2020 by our Pan-India Schengen Visa Center in Mumbai. So all the emails on all the applications you can submit as usual at Chennai and Hyderabad VFS office, but they'll be handled by our center in Mumbai. The long-term visa, it's here at the consulate that we're dealing with it, to apply through VFS, to book the appointments through VFS, and as a scholarship holder or a PhD student or guest scientist or researcher, you are eligible to submit your application at the VFS offices in Chennai and Hyderabad. So you do not need to come to the consulate. And the appointment is also to be booked online through VFS. How to get your visa in 8 steps when it comes to different steps, what to do. So first check our website to see the checklist, which documents to submit. We need 2 complete application sets, so 2 identical sets with the hosting agreement, which is a certain form when it comes to follow rules and a lot of forms that you're going to meet and suffer in Germany. It's a certain form which the research institution and you have to sign a hosting agreement. So those doing a research program have to submit the hosting agreement. It's in German and in English, and both partners have to, both parties have to sign it. Some are doing a combined research or guest scientist and PhD program, so being employed up to 50%, and they have to submit, usually it's just a guest scientist work or assistant scientist, they have to submit a so-called Erklärung zum Beschäftigungsverhältnis. It gives all the details about your employment, and the employer has to sign it and fill it. And you'll find it also on the Make It in Germany website, as well as on our website. So please make sure that you're bringing 2 new biometric pictures. So we sometimes see old ones. I mean, we're all getting some wrinkles, getting older. So please, they shouldn't be older than 3 months and biometric quality. Then you fill the visa application form, then you book the appointment online through VFS, and then get a demand draft if you're not getting a scholarship. As a scholarship holder, you do not need to pay visa fees. Then the demand draft, please check the current visa fees on our website. Don't just take the exchange rate from the internet, because we are having a common embassies exchange rate. Then you submit your application at the VFS center. Comes to punctuality, you're getting a certain time frame when to submit. Please make sure that you're not too late. And then usually you just wait a few days if you're in this category: scientist, scholarship holder, PhD students or researchers. It'll only take a few days, and then you will get your passport back. And we're going to keep the passport as well. And then you're getting the passport back through VFS. The required documents to apply for the visa, and Kavita already mentioned attestation of documents, or no, copy attestation of documents, which may be required by the research institutions or the universities. This can also be done through VFS. So you can submit your documents as a student through VFS. With a student or with your admission letter, you do not need to pay any attestation fees. So please check our website, and you can hand in the documents at the VFS offices. So it's the usual passport, application, declarations. There's some additional declarations which are on the website. Then the personal covering letter. Then usually, if you are still with a university or a research institution here in India, there'll be a cover letter from their side as well as from the host. And then as I mentioned, the hosting agreement for researchers, or the Erklärung zum Beschäftigungsverhältnis if you're doing a kind of employment or part-time employment. We see many PhD students who are also employed up to 40–50%, so 20 or 30 hours per week, and bringing this document as well. Okay, accommodation is not a mandatory requirement. Sometimes there's a kind of a attestation from the host institution, but that's not a mandatory requirement if you do not yet know where to stay. But please try, since it is in some cities it's a big problem to find a proper hostel or accommodation, and ask the university where you're going to. There usually is the student office or the institution to help you, which they normally do. Okay, fees if applicable. If you're not getting a scholarship, then you have to pay the visa fees, which is equivalent to €75. Okay, that's just to repeat the website. Researchers need to bring hosting agreement. The others have to bring, if there's a part-time employment or full-time or 80% employment, the Erklärung. This first Benska, by the way, is being reproduced by a company in Coimbatore. So they're doing up to 60 a year, and it's really interesting. And I don't know whether Ms. Küchler had the chance, the former CG had the chance to drive it. So if you're interested, there's an auto museum, and they're still building. It's all handmade, 265 or so parts, single parts. They're still producing this first Benska, now made in Coimbatore. Okay, after the interview at the VFS office, if there are any doubts, then of course we can also call you. Make sure that the application papers are complete, not to delay the visa processing. The applications are forwarded in our visa system to the respective and competent immigration officers. If you're going to Ilmenau, for example, then the competent immigration office where you're going to do your research or study course or work as a scientist. And then we have to wait for the approval in the system, but it does not require the formal approval from the immigration office or the Federal Employment Agency. This makes it kind of a fast-track visa processing to your advantage. It's only a few days usually that it takes to issue the visa. And the passport is going to be returned by a courier service. We stopped the personal collection due to Corona. Okay, good to know this, that as a scientist, if you're getting a proper like scholarship, some offer, like Alexander von Humboldt, they also finance the stay of family members, spouse and kids. Or if you're working as a guest scientist or as a researcher and you're getting a salary, then of course your family can travel with you and they can apply at the same time. As a scholarship holder, they also do not need to pay visa fees. It's waived. Visa fees are waived. Spouses of researchers do not bring the, in usual cases, required A1 certificate. And with the German national visa and later on the residence permit which you're getting, you can travel within the EU member states. So we usually issue the visa for 6 months, unless it is a limited 1 year research stay, for example, then we can issue for the whole 1 year. Otherwise, we are going to issue for 6 months, and then you go to the immigration office and apply for your residence permit. You would need the national German health insurance when you're applying for the proper residence permit. For the visa procedure, you just need, it can also be an Indian health insurance, unless you are a PhD student with a scholarship, because then you do not fall under the mandatory health insurance scheme, so you have to bring a health insurance that is comparable with the German health insurance. But there are many who are offered, and also your university can help you to give you some advice. Okay, that's it. Thanks to the fast-track procedure for your category, visa category. There are no more details, so, but any questions, please feel free, and I'm ready to answer, or send an email to this visa at chen.diplo.de, and please do not send a reminder the very next morning, because usually we are working on a backlog of about 300 to 400 emails and trying our very best. Okay, thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
One question here. By when should we have the passport ready after getting that DART funding? Like the passport for applying for visa, like by what timeline should we have that ready? Like have to renew it, some like asking.
Yeah, make sure that the passport needs to be valid for at least 6 months after the expiry of the visa validity. So if it's about to expire, then rather apply for a new passport. And then you're asking of once you get the admission, the DART admission, or?
Yeah.
And are you ready? Your papers are ready for the visa procedure. So yeah, then I would recommend, if the passport is about to expire within the next, or let's say till April, June 23, I would recommend to apply for a new one and apply with a new passport.
Hello. Few of my seniors have said that it is easier to get a visa from Chennai consulate than other part of country. Is it so? Like
no, usually the visa procedure and the Residence Act is the same, so there shouldn't be any problem unless it comes to the question about waiting lists for visa appointments. But like we all see, if you go on the VFSF website, there's a certain category for researcher, guest scientist, and also for scholarship holder and PhD students. So you come in a special separate category. Make sure that you are booking your visa appointment in the correct category, otherwise you risk to be sent back and then you have to book again. But usually there's hardly any waiting time to get the appointment. Maybe this is that somebody referred to the wait list when it comes to visa appointments. That can differ from Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore and Chennai, but the visa procedure and the regulations, that's all the same.
Hi ma'am.
Hi.
For master students, visa processing time duration.
For
master students.
Master students.
Visa processing time duration.
It's usually 4 weeks, because we have to wait for the formal approval. So from the time that you submit your application, it's usually 4 weeks time that we get the response.
Okay.
The only problem is now for bachelor and master that there's waiting time to get the appointment to submit.
Yes.
Yeah, but the visa processing itself, it's up to 4 weeks.
Thank you.
Yeah. No more questions. So in case you're feeling homesick being in Germany, because we talked about that when you are abroad, then you learn how to appreciate your own country. There are more and more Saravana Bhavan restaurants now, opened up in Hamburg, Cologne, Munich, Frankfurt were the first ones, Berlin. So hopefully you don't need to suffer when it comes to good Indian food. And we are sending a lot of specialty cooks, so there are more and more Indian restaurants with South Indian cuisine. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So this program here would not have been possible. Of course, the DAD colleagues Padma and Kavita would like to give me the credit, but as you may have seen, there were many people involved. Foremost, there were several students, I'm not going to name them, who are working with me, who are actually wearing the DAD t-shirts. They actually facilitated this program from registration to computational support. And I would like to place on record both IMSC catering and IMSC administration for facilitating the event. There is the electrical team, and above all, this program has been recorded, and there is Ms. Gayatri out there from our media. She deserves a round of applause. And the electrical team and the civil team who have actually facilitated that. I think everything is gone without any hitch, right? So I think with that, I would like to thank you all for coming. We have a public library here. So I think those of you who have come for the first time, the library in IMSC is a public library. So you're welcome to visit our library and enjoy the campus if you wish to. So with that, I thank specifically the members from the German consulate, Mr. Kushner, Ms. Regina, for being here. I hope you enjoyed your stay, and we look forward to having you again. Thank you very much.